Well, it really started as an economist focusing mainly on macro issues. I sit with heads of state, with leaders in each country of the world, and they start focusing on their economy. And typical, the United States leads the world on the worst side of this, in that we spend almost 20% of our economy on what other people call healthcare. I call the sickness industry. No one wants to be a customer, think of it. And 1/5 of our product goes to making people customers of the sickness industry, which no one wants to be a customer of. And I kept saying, how is this escalating? It grows 4 or 5 times the sickness industry than the regular economy. And as the premier of China figured out after reading one of my books, if you scale the numbers of the sickness industry, we don't have any food, we don't have any education, we don't have any economy left, because the sickness industry will suck up every dollar. So I look at the sickness industry economically and say, how do we come to spend 20% of our net worth every year, going up at 8, 9, 10% a year, and we're spending it on something no one wants. When you look at the sickness industry, you say, what's the cause? Why are people so sick and so rich? It seems like an oxymoron. And then as I focused on the sickness industry, and I focused as an economist and as an advisor to several governments, we started focusing on what's the cure for this escalating rise in the sickness industry. And it's not cutting costs or cutting care. It's figuring out why people are so sick. And that led me to discover what I termed the wellness industry. And back when I started this about 20 years ago, the word wellness was actually owned by the cancer care people. A wellness center was some type of oncology center where you got infusions. And I took the word wellness back from them and said wellness is really the reaction, the revolution against becoming a customer of the sickness industry. And I said it's not just something you do to be healthy. It's not just buying a product that makes you breathe a little better, run a little faster, lose a little weight. It's a whole new industry, a whole new way of thinking. And that led to the first book on this called The Wellness Revolution. And since then, I've been writing about the economics of what some call preventative medicine. I like to call it something much bigger than that, which is wellness, which encompasses all aspects of our life, spiritually, obviously, physically, and into the wellness industry. If you look close at the sickness, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'll jump in here in a minute.
If you look close at the sickness industry, there's the elephant in the room that no one talks about. I mean, let's go take a little trip to the breakfast table of any home in America. And let's look at, today we're looking at the fiscal cliff, and we just went through a presidential election. And what's the real issue? The real issue no one's talking about. 65%, that's 65%, 2/3 of Americans are overweight or obese. 33% are clinically obese by any medical term. They are living restricted lives far worse than if they were discriminated about by the color of their skin or discriminated about by the country of origin. Their lives are defined by the pills and pharmaceuticals they're addicted to. 95% of the prescriptions written in America in the sickness industry are pills you're supposed to take for the rest of your life. They don't cure anything. And the reason primarily is diet and lack of exercise. And so the elephant in the room, no pun intended, when it comes to somebody wanting to improve their life, vote for the right candidate, the elephant in the room no one's talking about is overweight and obesity, which are symptoms of a lack of exercise and very poor diet. And that's what we need to focus on, and that is, fortunately, a whole new industry. Because as I'm going to explain in Florida this March, the reason we got to all these problems are the economics of the sickness industry. People make money. The sicker you are, the more they keep you as a customer. If they cure you, they lose you. And the food industry makes money by making more and more unhealthy foods, because when you increase your weight 20% over norm, which is the definition of obesity, you don't increase your food consumption 20%. You double your food consumption. Think of that. Somebody who's normal weight might eat 2,500 calories a day. Somebody who's 20% overweight, obese, consumes 5,000 calories a day. You see how you've just doubled the sales to your customer. And they're not doing this to be evil. They're doing this just to sell more of their products. So the combination of the sickness and particularly the pharmaceutical and medical industry combined with the food industry has created the economic problem of the world today, which is actually obesity and overweight. It's an economic problem. That's the causes, not just a medical problem. The solution? The solution, as I've been studying 20 years, is the wellness industry. It's people who can also make a living, a great living, focusing on why people are so overweight and obese when no one wants to be overweight and obese, figuring out why people have such a lack of wellness, and attacking it in a positive way and making money doing it. And that's the real exciting business opportunity, because only an economic opportunity can cure what's really an economic problem.
Well, so obviously you're talking to you're preaching to the choir a little bit from the standpoint of who our people are, because we're definitely in the fitness industry, and of course one of our end game, Paul, is as we've shared with you before, is to end the trend of obesity in America. And as you just shared, 65% of Americans are obese. That's a number that continues to grow and expand. No pun intended. So, as you look at a business like a Beachbody, you have this captive audience of people that we call coaches that are out there, sharing who and what we are. How do you see a Beachbody being positioned in the wellness industry that you just referred to?
What I'm most excited about Beachbody, and I know you have an excellent product line, but the real excitement to me is the delivery system, and you said it right there. It's a coach. Ultimately, overweight and obesity are problems somebody is screaming out for help. Again, no pun, they obviously need the help, and yet they haven't been able to do it on their own. They need what all of us have, from ball player to my young children. They need a coach. A coach. It says the right thing. It says, I'm going to lead you. I'm going to lead first by example. Take a look at me, and I'm going to lead you and teach you what I've learned. And your coaching philosophy to deliver wellness industry products, your combination of both nutrition and fitness, it puts you in such a unique edge to be a leader, what I call a first responder in the wellness industry, in the crisis we have now in our sickness industry.
Well, you're throwing out some terms here that I know will resonate with our coaches. The first responder, that's a term that that Carl has tremendous passion for, and as you have an opportunity to meet Carl, you'll sense and see that passion. But he refers to
I borrowed it from him. I love that term. It so reflects what you do.
Well, it really does create that sense of urgency, and it also resonates and sends that message of there's a crisis, and someone's got to be there. Someone's got to be there fast, and it puts a fire in the belly. And the one thing that I can proudly say our coaches have is that fire in the belly about who we are and what they offer, what they offer to people. Hey, Paul, talk for a minute about you've worked with with countries, you've worked with heads of state, you've worked with lots of companies, some in our industry, I'm sure. As you look at the wellness industry and the opportunity, the economics of this, I know that you see tremendous potential there for anyone that gets involved in that. Why don't you give a little bit of your insights on that?
Well, what's exciting about wellness, and what I think I bring differently to wellness, is I don't see – some people think wellness products are part of the medical industry, as if you're going to go to a doctor or go in the sickness industry and here's a product that'll keep you from getting obese, or here's a product that'll make you healthier. I don't see it that way. I see your product line and what you do as the emergence of a new industry, very similar to about 100 years ago we had the first automobiles. But they didn't call them automobiles. Most people called them horseless carriages. They thought it's a new way of powering the carriage. Instead of with a donkey or a horse, it's a horseless carriage. And, of course, they laughed at it. They said, how can these things succeed, these horseless carriages? There's no roads. There's no gasoline stations. I mean, think of all the things they needed. What some people figured out was that the horseless carriage, or what we now call an automobile, was a whole new revolution. It was a complete way in changing transportation. It would change the way people live. Now they wouldn't live near, they used to say people live in tenements right near the factory they work in. Why do they need a car? Well, the car would let them go live out in the suburbs and build new towns and have a whole new life. And so the automobile is a great example of something that came out as a new product within the carriage industry, but quickly became its own trillion-dollar industry. In our lifetime, the personal computer is very similar. When the first personal computers came out, and that's an industry I've been personally involved in with several companies, when they first came out, people thought they were faster typewriters, or they were some type of automatic typewriter, or they were some type of big calculator. They had special spreadsheet machines running VisiCalc that were big calculators. But some people said, no, it's not a faster calculator. It's not a big typewriter. What it really is a whole new product called a computer. Think of it, that's a personal computer, which was the ultimate oxymoron 40 years ago. How could a computer be personal? And some people said it's not a better typewriter, it's a whole new industry. And quickly in 10 years, personal computers became $1 trillion industry. And that's really where we are in wellness. In wellness today, we are approaching $1 trillion in wellness sales. It's clearly emerging as 1/15th, 1/10th of the U.S. economy to combat the sickness industry, which is already 1/5 of the U.S. economy. And it's growing incredibly fast, and people who get involved in it, it's not just about a product or service. It's about a whole new industry, a whole new way of thinking. And each wellness product or service spawns the need for another wellness product. And again, that's where your product line of both fitness, nutrition, and most important, the coach, all combines to look at this as a holistic way. We're going to work on your wellness, and we're going to be there for you forever, because once, frankly, you get wellness, because of the way the human body ages, they want more and more and more wellness. It's an amazing product because it works, and yet because of our aging process, people want more and more as they age, particularly once they see it work.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Paul, we don't want to take too long here. We don't want to take all of your thoughts before you get to Disney. But maybe kind of a softball question to you, is you have the opportunity to talk to these coaches down there at Disneyland or at Disney World. What's your sense of how they'll come out of your presentation? I know that's a little presumptive in some respects, but walking out, what do you think their takeaway will be? Their gleaning, that the deeper understanding that they'll get.
I think they'll see that they're part of a whole new movement, that they're first responders, but really revolutionaries. We need a complete revolution in diet in this country and the world. We need a complete revolution in fitness. We need a complete revolution of people so they can avoid becoming customers of the sickness industry, which is like the evil government oppressing us before the revolution takes place. And if I do my job correctly, and that's because you, Jeff, and all the people in your side help me prepare and do the research to customize my work, and I'm looking forward to spending some real time there and meeting many of your distributors and people individually. But if I do my job correctly, they'll get up on Monday morning and go, wow, it's not just a business opportunity. It's a whole new revolution. I'm right in front of it. And we can change so many people's lives. And this is what governments need, number one, today. The number one issue is not some political issue. It's not some free speech in some country that represses people. The number one issue is obesity, overweight, lack of nutrition, lack of fitness, and this is the way we're going to change the world and improve people's lives.